record did very well. Surprisingly well. Amazingly well. So we made more. The damn things played all over the East Side. My name on labels going round and round and round. She became an honest-to-God celebrity. She was often imitated at parties. You can imagine. All the time I played for Madame Flo, my friends used to kid me, but it was okay, pretty much. But after the recordings, the kidding got pretty intense. It was non-stop, like there was nothing else they could talk about. Someone would say, "How are rehearsals going?" Or they would suggest stuff she could sing, and then they would laugh, and they couldn't stop laughing. So I figured, what the hell? Friends ask me out. I tell them I'm busy. I made new friends, less musically inclined. I kept telling myself that Madame Flo was only part of my life. I still had my own work. So I wrote more songs, began an opera, tore it up, traveled some, bought groceries, fell in love. And then one day my suits didn't fit. You can only live on hope so long. Somewhere along the line, you begin to wonder, is this it? Is this all I rate? Am I crazy to keep writing songs no one wants to sing? Maybe they're right. Maybe they really are trash. Maybe I'm no better than her. And I would suffer because there's a thing that happens when the rest of the world doesn't see your life's music the same way you do. When you realize you've become kind of a joke. Sure, you can try to fight the contempt, deal with the rolled eyes and the sniggers, or you can adjust and lower your expectations. Either way, you're not going to be happy. Then I'd look at Madame Flo. She never needed to adjust, and she was never unhappy. With her, it was the opposite. She got happier. She never had any doubts. She went right on singing with me there beside her. And I found myself admiring her. I found myself hoping some of her certainty would rub off on me. I can be happy, I can be sad, I can be good, or I can be bad. It all depends on you. As time went by, I moved beyond admiration and began to wonder if she wasn't some kind of genius. Well, her folly was so stupendous, you had to admire its scale. Like the Chrysler Building. I found myself wondering if she hadn't discovered some new form. If her performances weren't really commenting on our assumptions of what music is and isn't. I got so I almost preferred the way she sang. I heard Rosa Ponsell. Something was missing. I can save money or spend it, go right on living, or ain't you're to blame, honey, for what I do. Who's to say that if one note follows another, we call it a tune, but another one makes us wince? Who made up the rules? I never said any of this to her. She wouldn't have seen how it applied. So I said it to myself. I'd have long theoretical discussions with the bathroom mirror on the meaning of counterpoint. I hardly knew there was a war going on. I know that I can be beggar, I can be king, I can be almost anything. It all depends on you. In the autumn of our 12th year together, we were about to give the first of our annual recitals at the Ritz. September 1944. We were rehearsing you should be here, Madam J.
Isn't that what I sang?
It's a C.
There. piano must be out of tune. It seems to be happening more and more, as if it's made too much music in its day. It can't find the notes quite so easily now, though its heart is willing.
I'll give you a cue.
Cosme, I want you to promise that if you ever should come to detect any hint in my voice that it is not as it was, you will tell me at once.
But Madam Jenkins...
Never mind if I deny it. Never mind if I accuse you of ingratitude or disloyalty.
Madam J...
No matter how painful such a truth might be, I would want you to be the one to tell me. Don't let me be like the Bechstein.
You sound pretty much the way you always have.
You're not just saying that.
What? What is it, Madam Flo?
You don't hear it, dear heart, but there are times I find myself having to chase after notes that used to come quite effortlessly. Though I have done my best to protect my voice, time still takes its toll. Since I must face the day when my music will desert me, I wonder, would it have been better not to have been so blessed?
You're not thinking of retiring.
Retiring? Why would I think of retiring?
You were saying that your voice was...
Rhetorically, I still dream of reaching a wider public. Though, would it be prudent at this stage in my career to leave myself open to... Jealousy is a terrible thing. I'm not so blind, but I can see how others might portray me. All those smart people who haunt first nights at the opera in order to jeer. You know the type. I have been so very fortunate, so very protected. You have given me so much. Dear Cosme, something rather exciting. Almost.
Almost what?
I hope you're not going to be cross.
Cross? Now, why should I be cross?
Well, exactly. No doubt you'll be as thrilled as I am. You see, it's been proposed.
Yes?
A grand recital to honor our fighting men. I'm told there are many lovers of good music in the armed forces. Did you know? I must say I had no idea.
Proposed?
Well, yes.
Well, a special concert here at the Ritz.
Not quite. When it was proposed, what was proposed, I couldn't help but feel what a feather in my cap it would be, to say nothing of yours, to be able to say, yes, I have played.
Played? Oh, dear God.
Somewhere almost, how shall I say?
What? What place?
Cosme, it has been proposed I give a recital at Carnegie Hall. That's what's been proposed. I couldn't be more surprised.
You keep saying proposed. Who has proposed it?
The people who want me to give the recital, really, Cosme, who else would propose that? My only concern has been that you should think it a good thing. I get quite overcome. I can't help it. I wonder if this is what it means to be nervous. I feel an unaccustomed tightness in my throat. It does seem strange, with all my experience, that I should be assailed by nerves like any beginner, but there we are. Now you know. I must sit down. I must say, Cosme, this isn't quite how I'd hoped you'd react. It's rather a red letter day. I do wish you'd say something.
Carnegie Hall? I heard Heifetz there. I heard Golly Curchi there.
Soon, you'll hear me. Us. And the best thing of all, the icing on the cake as it were, I'm determined to sing something of yours.
Oh, no, please, no.
You want to thank me? It's what you deserve. Heavens, you've written so many lovely songs over the years. Lovely, lovely songs. It's a scandal they're not heard. I could almost think you don't want them sung the way you hide them away. Remember how I had to beg and beg before you'd let me have them printed. Unless I had, even I wouldn't know them. Tiens, the world has waited long enough. What better time to introduce your Serenata Mexicana?
The serenada's really for a mezza.
But these days, I'm finding warmer colors, don't you think?
But is it really showy enough?
Not one more word, I insist.
Oh, you really don't have to do this.
But I want to.
But you know how long it takes you to get a song. When is this proposed concert proposed to be? How long do we have to prepare?
I have it by heart already.
Oh, I can't do this, I really can't.
Cosme, look at me. I have absolute faith in you. I know you will rise to the occasion. It's been a shock, but once you get used to the idea, you won't feel so overwhelmed.
But does it have to be Carnegie Hall?
I think I could die happy knowing I'd sung there. I truly do. And you shall hear your lovely serenata as it should be sung. Remember me, beside the shining sea.
I don't know what to say.
You mustn't be afraid, Cosme. Always remember, I shall be at your side. I'm beginning to believe, so long as we're together, there is nothing we can't do.
Carnegie Hall? We sold out almost as soon as the concert was announced. We worked very hard to get everything just right. $2.40 seats were scalped at $20. And she had a whole new wardrobe design. A different costume for every song. We spent many hours in the music room. It all had to be perfect. Every note. It was winter in Manhattan, falling snowflakes filled the air. The streets were covered with a film of ice. Then a little bit of magic that I'd heard about somewhere changed the weather for a while, just within a trice. I bought you violets for your furs, and it was spring for a while remember. I bought you violets for your furs, and it was April in the December. You smiled at me so sweetly. Since then, one thought occurred. When I got to the hall, there were flowers everywhere. I walked over from my place on East 53rd. The sidewalks were crowded with servicemen, some with girls, some in groups or on the prowl. I even saw some at the box office among the mob waiting for returns. Over 2,000 people were turned away. I ran into some ex-friends, talking to one of those soldiers, fresh from someplace you've never heard. He couldn't stop yapping about how disappointed he was he couldn't get in. He'd heard from everyone that this was the big thing in town. He was shipping out in a couple of days, and who knew where he was going to end up. I had a spare ticket, so I gave it to the boy with a smile and wondered what life had to temper his enthusiasm. He was so pleased. He could hardly talk. Yeah, so that was something. Inside, I could hear her warming up, and again I wondered, how much did she know? Or more to the point, what would she do once she caught sight of that crowd in the house? Would her folly or madness, whichever, be enough to keep her safe? And what of my part in it all? No matter what anyone said, I was playing Carnegie Hall. My music would be sung in Carnegie Hall. Now that was something to be proud of, wasn't it? Some profit from all those spent years. You smiled at me so sweetly. Since then one thought occurs, that we fell in love completely. Is the day that I bought you violets for your Singing is a kind of dreaming in public. But were we heading into a nightmare? Okay, now I'm lost. In Mexico. That last summer with Kurt. He slipped getting into a boat and hit his head. He told me later it was like he was somewhere else, watching us pull him out of the water and revive him. He was quite calm in that place, before he decided to breathe and come back to all the messy smells and joys of life. I never fully understood what he meant until I walked out onto that stage. Something so overwhelming. You just don't ever forget it. It stays with you forever. Right here and now, I could almost be back on that stage. I made my entrance. I remember thinking, who made the lights so bright? I reached the piano. I played a brief intro. There was a hush, and then she entered. First she sang the bell song. Ready to play his part. I saw a lot of regulars were there. I had been concerned that at Carnegie Hall things might turn ugly, but it looked like they were going to keep the first-timers in line. I was quite hopeful. My serenata was next. She told me she had something planned, something special. She wouldn't say what. She wanted it to be a surprise. Of all the costumes she was going to wear that night, this was the only one I hadn't seen. I said a prayer. I began the introduction. it didn't happen. Let me tell you, I was pretty damn proud. My song was sung in Carnegie Hall. My God, I was up there with Brahms. She sang one of his next. A song dear to her heart, since it so perfectly expressed her own views of singing. Though art must thrill the soul, its true purpose was to teach. The tension was mounting. Spontaneous eruptions traveled throughout the house. They were on the edge of their seats, hungry for her return.
Raise thy voice to the heavens, if thy dreams be strong. But, singer, if thou canst not dream, then leave thy songs unsung.
You said it, lady.
She didn't hear laughter. She heard cheers, bravos. The lights kept getting brighter. So it seemed, brighter, brighter. I didn't see how they could be so bright. Out in the house, they were scanning their programs. Strangers turned to each other to compare their favorite moments. Veterans showed newcomers how to save their strength, how to rest between numbers, how to hide behind the seat in front to catch their breath, how to stuff handkerchiefs in their mouths to stifle the laughter, all the old tricks, how to cut and run when things got too much. Then we came to the Jewel song.
Voici justement à la fin de la cassette un miroir. Comment n'être pas coquette? Comment n'être pas coquette?
There was one last hurdle before intermission. I begged her to give it a rest. Yes, the crowd was on edge. They'd already seen some bolt for the doors. The rest were hanging by a thread. But she insisted. If she was happy in her music, she wanted those who heard her to be happy too. If Mr. Sinatra could have his Bobby Soxers, why should she be denied the same adulation? I thought it was playing with fire, but there it was. Adele's Laughing Song.
If I laugh
like a girl. I tried to get her to rest. She still had some big stuff to get through. We started the second half with the Queen of the Night. The crowd went wild. They were screaming. They were yelling, "Brava, diva." The applause went on until their hands hurt to cover the laughter. She took it in stride. She figured Mr. Mozart was having the same effect on them that he had on her. Then, when the crowd got quiet, she moved on to some other old favorites, and then through something unexpected, a tribute to our fighting men.
Down with the gunner, well, it was his fate. Down with the gunner, and then the gunner's mate. Up jumped the sky pilot, gave the boys a look, then man the gun himself as he laid aside the book, shouting, "Praise the Lord, and pass the ammunition! Praise the Lord, and pass the ammunition! Praise the Lord, and pass the ammunition, and we'll all stay free! Praise the Lord, and swing a cool sky, and a horde to spin round the world! Praise the Lord, we're all free, 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 all aboard! We're not going fishing! Praise the Lord, and pass the ammunition, and we'll all stay free!
The crowd was reckless. The long effort to control themselves finally pushed them right over the edge. Tallulah Bankhead had hysterics and had to be carried out of her body. In the orchestra, they were waltzing in the aisle. Fights broke out in the mezzanine. From the balcony, you could see people with their arms waving back and forth. Handkerchiefs fluttered down from the upper tiers. The house was stifling. We were into the encores. They wouldn't let go. They kept yelling for more. They knew it was coming. So did I.
Yeah. why didn't you tell me?
They gave me a piano so I could warm up.
You didn't tell me. Why didn't you tell me?
Toscanini dresses here, right in this room.
When I begged you.
Think of that.
Cosme, why didn't you tell me?
What is it, Madam J?
Have I been so foolish?
I thought it went very well.
Have I?
Really? Very well.
How could you let me make such a fool of myself?
I don't. You just had a huge success out there. Huge.
Don't.
Didn't you hear them at the end?
At the end, Cosme, I heard them.
They were just loving you. Didn't you hear them? It was really quite huge. Didn't you hear that?
I thought.
What? What did you think?
I didn't know what to think.
Let me tell you, I don't mind admitting I really was quite nervous before we started. I wasn't sure how they were going to take you, but boy, they loved you.
Did they?
Loved you. A whole big concert hall full of strangers, and they loved you.
Did they really?
Really.
Cosme, you would tell me.
On my way in, I was talking with the soldier. He was just a kid. And he was tickled pink. He was going to get to hear you. Now, he didn't know where he was going. But wherever he winds up, he's going to have some happy memories after tonight. He'll be one happy GI.
Happy?
Oh, yes. Very happy. You could hear them. They were just eating it up. You could hear them. Didn't you hear how happy they were?
I thought...
What? What did you hear?
I thought they were laughing, Cosme. Were they? Were they laughing? You expect that in the laughing song, that's to be expected. But the Ave, my beloved Ave, why would they laugh? I don't understand.
You've heard of nervous laughter? You know how when an audience sees something just overwhelming and they can't deal with their emotions? And the only way they can release it sometimes is to laugh? You must know that. It's so well known. I'm surprised you don't know that. But you could ask anybody, they'll tell you. Now, how many singers today can provoke that kind of response? I'll tell you, very few. There are very, very few.
I saw them with handkerchiefs. I'd seen that before, but I thought, I imagined something quite...
Oh, of course, you wouldn't want them just sobbing, would you? Bawling their eyes out.
I didn't know what was wrong. I thought I was in voice.
You were in fine voice.
Some things I always sing well, but one or two, I thought I'd never sung better. The Mozart, for example.
Unforgettable.
Dear Cosme.
I don't know why you're upset. I thought you would be happy. Why aren't you happy? Look at what you did. You just had a triumph. You gave these people something they'll never forget.
You wouldn't ever tell me things that weren't true, would you, Cosme? For whatever reason. You wouldn't ever lie to me.
I would never do that. Never.
You swear. You promise me.
I swear on all that's holy, I would never lie to you. Never. Do you believe me? Well, do you? You better believe me. What? What'd you think went on out there?
I didn't know what to think.
Well, of course, you're overtired from all the excitement.
I felt I was lost. I didn't like that.
No one likes that.
I do feel quite tired.
Well, you're bound to be tired. Look at what you just did.
Toscanini really dresses here. If only he could have heard me tonight. I imagine he would have had much to say. Cosme, if Mr. Mozart had been here tonight, do you think he'd have been pleased?
I think he would have been very pleased. Very.
I do hope he'd have been pleased. And Mr. Verdi, Mr. Gounod, all of them. Since I was a girl, you know, I've dreamed of such a night. And now it's gone. It was ahead of me. It was there to be hoped for. And now it's over. It's in the past. A memory. If only we could live in the music forever, Cosme. If only it could go on and on. But of course it can't. Of course it has to end. I must get changed. You will come to the party, won't you? You won't desert me.
As if I could.
I should so like to leave with you. Perhaps you would escort me to our reception? Unless...
Oh, I would be honored. Truly.
Thank you. Dear Cosme, thank you for telling me the truth. In my heart of hearts, I never really doubted that you would.
Within a month, she was dead. No, it wasn't the concert. It had nothing to do with the concert. I read about how it broke her heart and how she never sang again and all the rest of the garbage. But let's face it, she was no Violetta, no Butterfly. She was not the kind of character who dies of broken heart. What I do know is she called me bright and early the very next day to make plans for next year's recital at the Ritz. The day she died, she had met some friends for lunch at Schrapp's. They were going to a matinee of Harvey, but she'd already seen it. So she said her goodbyes and stopped by Shermer's to order some music, which was where her heart gave out. They said she was conscious for a while. The manager sat her in a chair and brought her a glass of water. She said it was a nuisance, that she still had rather a lot to do. She said she was feeling better, and it was probably just the cream chicken. And then, she was gone. They closed the store till the ambulance arrived. We were supposed to rehearse later that day. Toscanini sent flowers. I missed her. I really missed her. was surprised how much I missed her. She always said her singing didn't count unless she was under the spell of its music. You know, only the music mattered. And the thing about music is, well, singing, finally. Like she said that first day, what's important is what you hear in your head. Whether she was incredibly resilient or just plain crazy, I don't know. Either. Or both. But whichever, I'd have to say that what the audience heard was one thing. What she heard was something else.